Jemmies! It's so good to see you guys. Look, I know it's been over a month since the last episode, but Guys? Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the long hiatus. Let's start off with some wholesome confessionals, shall we? Also, I messed up. Peridot noticed that I put them in the wrong choice for one of the rounds last time, so the scores were incorrect. These are the fixed scores, and this is the fixed score board. This means that the leaderboard will also have to be adjusted. On a positive note, we got 13 votes this time, which is tied for the most we've ever gotten. And here is our screen with all of the remaining gemmies that I show every time for some reason. These three didn't participate, unfortunately. Let's move on to the challenge. I'll show each story individually and then share my thoughts on it. To make it a little more interesting, I won't show what rank you got. Instead, you'll be put in a range of ranks. Up first is Agate. I love this entry, simply because of how funny and clever it is. But because it doesn't tell much of a story, I can't rank it much higher than 16th through 20th. Next up is Almandine, whose entry is actually kind of similar to Agate's. This one is slightly better, however, because it does actually tell a little bit of a story, giving it an 11th through 15th spot. Amethyst gives us our first real story, and it's pretty good. Nice pacing, easy to follow, 11th through 15th. Andesign's story is okay, but it's kind of bland and bare bones, so it's part of the 21st through 25th gang. I like Androdite's, because it's almost like a letter, and it has a good rhythm to it, 11th through 15th. Aquamarine's story is fun, but it's just really strange, so it'll get 16th through 20th. 8th up is Chalcedony. The story is quite good. It's compelling, funny to read, and all around pretty good, 6th through 10th. Next up is Chrysoberyl. My problem with this one is that there's no creativity. It's just something that actually happened. 26th through 31st. Now Dipotase' story I really like, because it feels like I'm actually reading a book, and it's very compelling, making it the first of the top 5 to be shown. Emerald's story is okay, but it's just so short that there isn't really anything to it. 21st through 25th, unfortunately. Grossular's story is fun, because it isn't about GFFG or anything like that, it's just about a gem with a dream. 11th through 15th. Jade's story is next. I liked reading this one. I like the use of coal as bad guys, and it's just fun to read. 6th through 10th. Lapis Lazuli's story is up next. I like the tie-in to last episode, but the story itself is about average. 16th through 20th. Larimar's story is next on the board. This one is just real hard to follow and doesn't make that much sense. There's no real flow. 21st through 25th. Fun fact, Malachite was one of 4 people to use over 100 words. I'll talk about that later. Onto the story itself, it's okay, but again, it's hard to follow and feels like it's just dragging. Moonstone's story is one of my favorite, because of the sense of mystery it gives off at the end. 1st through 5th. Onyx's is yet another great story. This one is almost like a poem, but it still manages to tell a really good story. Opal's story is alright. It's kind of fun, but it's also a little boring. It's well organized though, so it'll get 6th through 10th. Up next is Peridot. I really appreciate why you joined, but there's no real creativity here, unfortunately. The next story belongs to Quartz. This one made me genuinely laugh while reading it. Timing is perfect, and it's very clever. 1st through 5th comes to you. Here comes Rhodonite, being the second person to use over 100 words. Fortunately, I really like this one. It's similar to Diotase's in that it feels like I'm reading a book. With that, all of the top 5 entries have now been shown. Ruby's story is next up to bat. I'll be honest, it's not the best story, but it genuinely made me laugh when I read the end, so good job. 22nd up is Sapphire. Their story is alright, but it's really bland and not super creative, unfortunately. Up next is Spencer Tidy, who, just like Sapphire, wrote about something that happened at the age of 13. This one just goes by so quick without making a mark, so it has to go pretty low. Fluorite's story is next. It's super short and not super well written, unfortunately. Hopefully they won't be eliminated like their story predicts. Topaz's story is up next. This one is bland and all the sentences are the same structure, making it feel really monotonous. Sorry, Topaz. Tourmaline's next, and oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. The story itself is okay, but it's just way too long for absolutely no reason. Fourth to last is Uvarovite. While there's nothing wrong with their story, there's also nothing that stands out about it, so unfortunately, they're in the 21st through 25th gang. Zorsite's story is next, and honestly there's nothing to this one. There isn't really anything to critique. I mean, it's one sentence. Next we have Zircon. This was the absolutely longest story, over 300 words. At least it makes up for it though, by being pretty good, fun to read, and not much that you could have cut out. Finally, we have Kunzite's story to read. Thankfully, it's quite good. I like how it attaches you to this character, then turns it around on you. It would have made top 5 had they not said, Kunzite was insane, because the reader should be able to interpret the story. Now that we've read all the stories, it's time to rank them. This is how it'll go. I'll show each ranking group on the board one at a time, to add some suspense. Here's our scoreboard. Remember how I said there would be consequences for using more than 100 words? Well, for every extra word you use, you'll lose 1 point. That gives us these new scores. Now that our Gemmies have gone through 5 challenges, I'm actually quite curious to see how they've done. Here is everyone's highest rank so far. Note that I'm only counting ranks from after challenges, not from before them. Obviously, first is the highest, and the lowest high is 26th. And here is everyone's lowest rank so far. Zircon has been everywhere, with the lowest low of 37th, and Lapis Lazuli and Opal have stayed in the top 10 the entire competition. Now that we're at the final 32, let's make this interesting. You guys seem to like these skill-based challenges, so here's another one. Create the greatest warrior you can think of. Describe them to me the best you can. Things like their name, their powers, their history, things like that. You can even draw them if you want. Remember, be creative. Submit your entries to me, AOBmaster77, either by commenting on this video or through Discord PM.